Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this new webinar co-hosted by Kelkoo and Google. Webinar about, as you can see on the screen, performance max. Just before we start, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Normally, if we were in a room, I would show you the emergency exit, but we're not. So the only thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Obviously, at the end of this webinar, there will be a Q&A session. However, you have the opportunity to ask your questions at any point during this webinar. And to do so, please use the Q&A button that you will see at the bottom of your screen. If you use the chat, there is a big chance that your questions get lost. So please put it in the Q&A button, and then we'll make sure that we answer your question at the end of the webinars. So this webinar will be recorded as well and will be available on YouTube in a few days. So if you miss anything or if any colleagues missed anything, then don't worry about it. The video will be available. Right. Then if everybody is ready, let's get right into it. And let me introduce the speaker today. So on Google side, we will have Conor. Conor is our CSS partner manager at the Performance 6 team at Google. And on the Kelkoo side, we will have Sarah. Sarah, who is a PPC consultant, and which you will hear in a second part of the webinar. And then obviously myself, Vincent, director at Kelkoo and in charge of all the Google-related business. So, Conor, if you're ready, stage is yours.
Thank you, Vincent, and thank you for inviting me to share what's happening in the world of Performance Max, shifting from smart shopping and standard shopping. There's been huge changes, and thanks for everyone who's joined today. I want to start by saying, firstly, Performance Max is just an evolution of smart shopping with added reach. So people who are familiar with smart shopping campaigns on this Hangout or call know that all surfaces for smart shopping cover display, YouTube, Gmail, search, and shopping. And with Performance Max, we're extending the reach in terms of new ad formats across YouTube in-stream ads with Google Merchant Center offers, more text ads, and even ads that can now appear on Discover feed, which I'll touch upon in a second. We have added reach, so this is a huge change. In terms of bidding, we've made a lot of improvements here. In terms of new customer acquisition, we have more focus on new customer acquisition in terms of weighting the algorithm to bid more towards new customers as well as existing ones. We also have new customer only for acquisition of new customers who might want to focus Performance Max campaigns on. There are seasonality bid adjustments for those key periods or retail periods where there's lots of fluctuation, so you have more control. And there's also new goals for online sales. So whether that's just conversions with a target CPA as an option or conversion value with an optional ROAS target. There's more to come on omni-channel bidding, especially in store visits as well later this year. Finally, new insights and reporting have come to Performance Max. Audience signals are here now as just that, a signal to steer the algorithm of the campaign, whether that's customer match, remarketing lists, or even Google audiences that you wish to target for the campaign. There are listing groups replacing product groups, which we'll touch upon in a second. There's a new Insights tab, which gives you really useful insights around the share of volume of conversions that you're seeing from a Performance Max campaign, as well as product diagnosis that you can make those fixes to products and ensure that more products surface across this campaign type. But what is different about Performance Max versus Smart Shopping or any other campaigns for that matter? It is our first single goal-based campaign that focuses on achieving all your performance goals with automation across all of Google Ads inventory. So it is very path to purchase aware across all those channels, as you are able then to surface the right ad to the right user at the right time, according to your business and marketing objectives, no matter where they are, on what network they're browsing. And we always try to serve on the best inventory across all of Google's channels. So it has the performance, reach, and scale. What are all those properties or channels? So ad creatives can show on YouTube, display, search, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with, and also Gmail. And for maps, there's also pins when bidding towards store visits, which is in beta only, and more to come, as I say, for local campaigns migrating to Performance Max, which will happen sometime in August. And ultimately, Discover is maybe something here that people have not heard of or seen before. So what is this new placement that you can actually appear on? It's ads on the Discover feed. So people who are familiar with the Google search app or use the search homepage, I've seen the search homepage, often see curated content to their own personal interests, which is automatically refreshed by Google. Ads can now actually surface and appear here before a user even searches, so almost in an exploratory phase. In this example, you can see an ad for the most comfortable bed from a mattress ad, for example, that you can now surface on Discover. Why did we do this? The consumer journey, as we all know it, has constantly evolved and is ever changing, and it's growing even more complex. It's more fragmented than ever, with more ways to discover, research, and purchase products. Customers are now actually engaging across a plethora of channels, and that can be hard to keep up with change. So in terms of how to adapt, to plug that gap, Performance Max. This is why more and more advertisers are turning to automation to engage those customers effectively at scale. For some purchases, we've seen from a source of Think with Google on how intent is redefining the marketing funnel, that it takes over 500 plus digital touch points before a purchase is even being made by some buyers. So this is more reason to think about automating your ad creatives to users. And our newest campaign type is there to help you shift towards using Google's automation and harnessing the best machine learning while driving optimal performance across Google in this new digital economy. Just to go a bit under the hood around the kind of Google Ads automation and steering automation with user inputs for best results, Performance Max combines the best of all our technology to access that property auction data and achieve optimal machine learning. So what does it mean? So the algorithm has that full visibility into the one campaign type, where previously before you would have had separate campaigns for display, YouTube, Gmail, search, shopping, etc. It also gives you that insight to auction time bidding across all of those channels. And auction time bidding on average delivers an uplift of 15 to 30% at the similar CPA or target ROAS. It also helps to automate creatives based off what you've fed the system. So the more compelling an ad combination the system deems to serve, the more that will have a chance to lead to clicks or conversions of whether the user is on mobile, tablet, desktop device, different browsing operating system, or even time of day. It is also data-driven aware for full funnel awareness. So whether someone is at early stages of consideration, attention, interest, consideration, desire, or action, this leads to an uplift in conversions at similar CPA for customers that shift to data-driven attribution. And early test results for Performance Max campaigns saw on average an increase of 13% total incremental conversions at a similar cost per action. So in terms of efficiency, the average uplift in performance based on our own internal studies suggests that it's there. And individual results, of course, may vary, and that's why we encourage you to trial it out and test it with Kelkoo. Optimum setup for high-performing Performance Max campaigns. What does that look like? So things you should consider for Pmax: a marketing objective and a campaign goal, of course. What is it you're looking to achieve? Is it to drive store visits, more online sales, etc.? You need to provide assets, and assets is something, if you're to take one thing away from today's call, is something you should remember for Performance Max. This is a shift away from just product groups and how potentially retailers were just looking at Google Merchant Center feeds and segmenting products for via categories. You need to include text, headlines, descriptions, images and logos, and even videos for creative assets, so that along with your Merchant Center feed and that data, you're also inputting signals and targeting location and language. The final few things here in red for feeds, you have optional feeds for business data feeds or Google My Business feeds. But for signals, we suggest that we recommend rather that you upload customer match first-party data to steer the algorithm, because the more data, the better the output. Google Audiences are also optional, or just that, a signal to steer the algorithm, whilst Performance Max is a fully automated campaign type. Always remember to upload also your marketing list and add an optional ROAS target. Another big change is ad strength in this product. So this is real-time feedback to show you via a tool in Google Ads how your assets are set up for best practice. So what's the optimal asset group setup? It will show you what good looks like and understand if text asset quality is good. Additionally to this, you will also have image and video formats showing quality signals, which will be made available in the product soon. But make sure that you're using this to ensure that you have the right assets set up at campaign creation and guide you on how to improve your asset group performance. Some of the minimum and kind of recommended asset specifications are here on this slide. So for what assets do you need for a Performance Max campaign? We suggest and recommend 5 headlines. We also recommend at least 4+ descriptions. And then when it comes to imagery, we recommend 3+ landscape and square image formats. And in addition to that, at least 1 portrait image. The final thing to touch on is video. So videos are auto-generated by Google from either your text or image assets that you provide. But we would suggest you upload custom video formats in horizontal, vertical, and square, longer than 10 seconds in length and also longer than 15 if you can. This way, you take control of your video content marketing. So moving from ad formats to assets, asset groups are where you manage your creative assets. That includes everything we've just discussed: text, imagery, video, logos, and finally URLs. And you group them according to a theme. And we'll touch upon this in a second. Machine learning then for Performance Max will actually pick and choose the best performing combination of those assets to surface to users across all our channels. And the ad strength tool I showed you is a real-time tool to help you complete your asset groups. So what is an asset group? That is where you have control in Performance Max, where you manage different kinds of creative assets according to your text, image, video, and also ensure that they're related to the right theme for your business or targeting the right audience. Use those audience signals that you see are showing a larger share of conversion volume from the Performance Max campaign to optimize it. So asset group use cases are here. So here's 2 to 3 examples. If you were, say, a retailer selling pets, equipment, and food supplies, suggesting a generic pets group is the first example. So create one single asset group with signals for this asset group, generic pets, to display the right combination of assets for that audience. But if you want to be more tailor-made to the asset group for perhaps people in the market for pet food or pets toys, we suggest you create more than one asset group, and you can also create more and multiple asset groups with different final URLs. The maximum asset group creation you can have is 100 per Performance Max campaign. Here quickly some best practices. Use the ad strength indicator to determine if asset groups have enough to perform to the best of ability. Ensure you have full coverage of asset types, text, image, and video. Ensure you meet the quality guidelines, which Kelkoo can, of course, guide you on for Performance Max, and create variations of assets. So find those top performing combinations for creatives. Please remember this creative insight cycle: produce, launch, measure, and analyze. It's all about an iterative approach, and this is one of the most powerful levers you have for Performance Max, a continuous process of creative testing for the best results so you can scale your top performing and best performing ads. And this is all evaluated by performance labels. Assets will show a performance label roughly after 48 hour upload. They're approved, and within a week you can see whether they are best, low, poor, or good. So low is obviously something you want to avoid. Do not delete these though, because within the first 2 weeks after upload or remove pending creatives, you'll no longer have access to the ones that were not performing well. What you want to do is adapt the lower assets and kind of borrow the best practices of what is working for your best and good assets. Example here, if you have an asset group built around one theme, you can replace the ad with the most relevant creative. So say you're running a 50% off discount for a bike, for example, rather than just a sale, you can also input custom creatives for images with the advertising the 50% off for the bikes. So maximize asset utilization. Please make sure that you have multiple asset combinations so that you can connect effectively with your audience where they are. That means that you have many different asset combinations that are powering and fueling machine learning for your ads to combine those visuals of ad copy and product across platform. Touching on video, the very last point I want to make, have up to 5 videos per asset group. You should upload in theory at least one so that you have control over your video content marketing. Otherwise, Google will auto-generate one. And in general, you can only add one HTML5 file per asset group. Any length above 10 seconds for videos is recommended, also longer than 15. Any resolution is supported, but of course, the higher the quality, the more that can resonate with the user on YouTube. This is what an automatically generated video looks like. We've had a lot of questions on that. If you don't have any videos in the asset group, as I said, it will be based off your images and headlines you provide that Google tries to serve these types of auto-generated videos. If the quality is too low, it will not serve that type of asset. But please always try to upload videos. Currently, there's no reporting on the kind of labeling of good, best, or low in terms of asset performance labels, but this is expected to come soon to the product. It doesn't currently show for some of image assets either. So the final point is on insights. So I mentioned at the start, lots of insights that are coming to Performance Max. And with our new insights page, you can get deeper, richer consumer insights that you can apply to your broader business or marketing strategy. For example, here you can see an audience insight that you provide signals for pet supplies and dog lovers with one top audience that's performing really well. And that can be pulled from your audience segments and top performing audience segments. So whether that's in-market affinity audiences or even custom segments that Google's recommending are resonating with your audience. There are also top search themes for creatives, which you can actually use to match audience preferences. Just on timeline, so there's been lots of questions around the one-click migration tool. So we've gone past the pre-upgrades phase, as you can see, in January, February, and March, and now we're into the voluntary upgrade process where there are more and more Google Ads accounts by the day being made readily available to the one-click migration tool. The auto migration process or auto upgrade is happening sometime in July, August, September, with smart shopping campaigns happening before then and local happening around August, September. But rest assured, you will always be notified before that auto migration would ever happen. And that's what I have to present for now, Vince. So over to Sarah.
Thank you very much. So let me then change the screen. If you can stop sharing, and I will start sharing our presentation. Thank you very much. Anyway, it's been a great presentation. So let's just go with this one. And with this, Sarah, the stage is yours.
Sure. And thank you so much, Conor. Thank you for the insightful points. We will now do a quick recap of what Pmax is before continuing. So what is Pmax? Performance Max is the next chapter of smart shopping. And the key aspects we've seen are that new channels are included, such as text, discovery, and video. Assets and creatives will become a key element of the campaign. There are different bidding possibilities. You can maximize conversion value with the target ROAS option that was already present and available with Smart Shopping, or you can now also maximize conversions with the target CPA option. And insights of search themes will be available, which are the search terms grouped into these search themes. What we thought would be very interesting to look at today is what is exactly changing from a Smart Shopping campaign to a Pmax campaign. Previously, you had either Smart Shopping campaigns, and next to that, you search text ad campaigns and potentially also other campaigns. Or you had manual campaigns. In both cases, you had different budgets and different goals for each of those campaigns. Now, this is getting transformed into one global campaign, merging all the different types of channels. Therefore, you now have one goal and one budget for all the channels, and Google's algorithm will make sure that the budget is spread over these channels in a way that makes sense for your campaign target. And we are here to help you on each step of the deployment of the Pmax campaign and to support you on your new or existing channels, such as search, discovery, display, YouTube, and so forth. When it comes to campaign management, as you just saw in the previous slide, the system will ask you to provide assets, such as videos and other content. If you do not have assets ready, as Conor just mentioned, Google may auto-generate video content based on what your feed contains. And more than ever here, we will insist on the importance of the health of your feed. Moreover, your KPIs for Pmax will be overall campaign KPIs, which include all channels without the possibility to split into one KPI per channel. This is for the reason we just saw above. And similarly, search term reports and impression share per channel will no longer be available. This is for the same principle as we've just spoken about. It will be one report for all the channels. Additionally, to help you target the right areas, you will have audiences available for your Pmax campaigns. You can therefore target specific groups and help your campaign ramp up. However, it's not possible to restrict the reach of your campaign to only the audiences that you have selected. Now, let's look into how you can start running Pmax campaigns. You can either do a one-click upgrade, which is now starting to roll out, This is very simple, as you will see a notification in your Google Ads account with the possibility of upgrading and then simply click apply. Or you can set up and create a Pmax campaign at any time. Next slide. Like any other type of campaign, this creation is guided, and the creation process will allow you to review your setup and make sure that you're in line with the requirements of Pmax. When looking at the process, there is a predefined path which you need to go through to make sure that you provide all the elements that Pmax requires. This is to allow it to work as well as possible. These steps might depend a lot on your different objectives and what you're trying or aiming to reach with your Pmax campaigns. Therefore, we will not go in detail here through these steps right now. However, the important thing to remember here is that we can support you throughout all the steps and make sure that the setup is in line with your objectives and your targets. So let's go a bit more in detail here and compare what is available in your current Smart Shopping campaigns and what will be available in your Pmax campaign. You can see that with Smart Shopping, you could adjust the bid strategy, adjust the budget, target or exclude specific locations, improve your feed quality, and with a CSS like Kelkoo, you could also add negative keywords. The same applies to Performance Max. So here you see all the same tools, and you can still add negative keywords. We can still add those for you to your Pmax campaign. However, with Performance Max, you also have additional available tools, which include adding first-party data and creating audience lists as signals, creating relevant assets and extensions, splitting campaigns into different asset groups, and excluding target URLs and placements. So let us now deep dive a little into each of these. By adding relevant audiences, you will have the possibility to create and add specific audiences to your campaign, thereby guiding Google's algorithm towards these target groups. Again, this doesn't mean that it will only target these audiences and that all the audiences will be excluded, but that the algorithm is guided towards them. You will also have the possibility to add first-party data. There is therefore the option here to leverage your own marketing data to help you reach the consumers that matter the most to you and to support your business and your strategy goals by adding, for example, customer match list and remarketing lists. While when looking at assets, you can create and add many types of assets such as headlines, descriptions, images, and so forth. And this is to tailor them to your inventory and to your business. And since the new channels on Pmax include very visual channels as well, like YouTube and Discovery, visual assets such as videos, images, and logos are definitely becoming an increasingly important aspect of your campaigns. And if you did not have a strong presence on video-driven channels before, and therefore you do not have any videos available, as we just saw and as Conor explained earlier, Google can create videos for you based on the images available in your feed, therefore making sure that your presence is developed on video-based channels to create these additional touchpoints and additional visibility for your campaign. You also have the possibility to upload and create specific asset groups designed to address specific parts of your targeted users. Previously, you would have addressed this aspect by having several campaigns with different target groups, different bidding strategies, and so forth. Now with Pmax, you can have similar target groups via this feature. We could get in detail here as on how to create those asset groups, but as you can imagine, this highly depends on your specific strategy and what you are trying to achieve with your Pmax campaigns. So this is another point where we'll be happy to discuss this further with you on a one-to-one basis to see how we can reach the optimized setup for your strategy. Let us go through a quick example though. Here you can see a campaign split into multiple asset groups. Just for the avoidance of any doubt here, you may notice that there's a part of the screen that is blurred, and these are the asset groups. We have blurred the detailed information of our customer on purpose just to respect their privacy and their confidentiality. But this is a clear example of a campaign split into asset groups that we're currently testing with one of our retailers. In this particular example, we have created asset groups based on the different categories available. The first one concentrates on video games available for a particular type of console. while the second one concentrates on the hardware revolving around this particular console. Again, this is purely an example, so you can imagine many ways into which you can split and organize your asset groups based on your products and on your priorities. Let's have a look now at the Exclude URL feature. Since Pmax campaigns will cover more channels, it might automatically send traffic to areas of your website that are less strategic to you. There is therefore this feature that helps you prevent this by simply excluding the pages of your website that you don't want traffic to be directed to, such as non-commercial pages. This will allow you to get a better control of the traffic delivered and help you improve the efficiency of traffic, as well as the end user experience by landing only on pages that are directly relevant to their purchasing experience. And finally, what are placement exclusions for Pmax? Placement exclusions allow you to specify pages, sites, mobile app traffic, videos that you wish to exclude from your Pmax campaigns. And you can add these placement exclusion lists at the account level before applying them to the Pmax campaigns. Looking at how to manage and optimize your Pmax campaigns, one of the main questions that we have received from our retailers switching to Pmax was the question of the levers available in the campaign type, in this type of campaign. We therefore thought it would be beneficial to clearly list the levers that we see and that we can offer when talking about Pmax. First, there are a certain amount of levers that the tool itself is offering you, such as adjustment of your bid strategy to capture expected traffic peaks, for example. This feature will allow you to adapt to trends when approaching the big events of the year, like Mother's and Father's Day, Black Friday, Christmas, or any relevant events. Asset performance report. Based on the asset performance, we can change, modify, or update the creatives to increase the efficiency of the assets. New customer acquisition goal. This one is pretty straightforward, but based on your strategy, you can put the focus on acquiring new customer rather than existing customers. Audience insights. This is the same principle as we saw with the asset performance report. This feature will allow you to fine-tune your audiences and make sure that you're reaching the target groups that are more likely to purchase what you are selling. And the diagnostics insights. This tool will help you understand why your ads are not showing and what you need to change, improve, or modify to show the product ads and to help them get traffic. And we can definitely help you fine-tune all of these tools. On top of that, there are a couple of other levers that you can use to improve the quality of your Pmax campaign. And those are points that PPC consultants at Kelkoo, like myself, use to continuously improve your performance online. First of all, the campaign structure. We're consulting for about 300 merchants, which allows us to experience and test a lot of different types of campaign structures in various categories. Based on your product and on your targets, we can help you define the most suitable campaign structure to make sure that you get the most out of your campaign while respecting your strategy. And second, attributes management. The feed is a key element of your campaign and is the base of your success. And at Kelkoo, we therefore concentrate a lot of our efforts on making your feed the most relevant possible for your business and your audiences. And by continuously working on your feed quality, we ensure that Google's algorithm always better understands what you're selling and therefore places them in front of relevant users. And this is the most powerful lever in our opinion and something we're very happy to further discuss and optimize for you. I will now let Vincent give you the first feedback that we have received from our retailers and the different impacts that we see on Pmax.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Very, very interesting. And I hope it's interesting for everybody on the call as well. So as Sarah was just mentioning, let us look now at the first feedback that we've received and observed with our retailers working already on Pmax. So now let's talk about impressions already. In terms of impression, we saw across the board an average of 11% plus. In terms of ROAS, we saw an uplift of 8%. Now, don't take those numbers as the ultimate promise, because again, it highly depends on the mix of merchants that we have at the moment. And it also depends on a lot of other things that we could see earlier in the presentation from Conor or Sarah. Depends on the quality of your feed, the structure of your campaign, the budget, etc. But again, this is what we've been observing with our current customers who have already switched to Pmax. So now let's talk about if we have or not a search campaign running next to your Pmax campaign. If you didn't have, before setting a Pmax campaign, if you didn't have a search or /text ads campaign running and consolidated, well, we saw Pmax being quite exploring, let's say, and getting quite a lot of traffic from search campaigns. We saw up to 45%. It was not always the case, but in some particular instance, we saw the algorithm exploring a bit. However, if you had already, next to your Pmax campaign, if you had already a search campaign that was consolidated at this very moment when you set up the Pmax campaign, the mix didn't change enormously. We haven't really seen anything changing really. So, other things, coming back to what Conor was saying and what Sarah was explaining also with the assets, we've done the test between a set of merchants who didn't have any asset because not a great presence on video advertising before, compared to a set of merchants with a full set of assets already. And on Pmax, with the merchant set that had already a set set up and running, we saw a higher ROAS on average of 6% compared to retailers who didn't have any video setup. Again, this is observation over the past months. So let's talk now about how Pmax is actually influencing over the other campaigns. So first thing first, excuse me. First thing first, Pmax dominates over standard shopping campaign. So if you have a standard shopping campaign, and if you have a Pmax, if you set up a Pmax campaign next to it, the Pmax campaign will always take over, and therefore you cannot run them simultaneously. Coming back a bit to the search campaign. So let's consider the case where you have a search campaign set up and you set up a Pmax campaign next to it. Your search campaign will continue to show because your Pmax campaign will only show if there is an exact match with the keywords that is not set up in your original search campaign. So in this particular case, it is worth it to have the two running at the same time. Now, between all the different types of campaigns, so if we're talking display, YouTube, discovery, LIA, Pmax, the campaign that will show up is always the campaign with the highest ad rank. So pretty easily as well to understand. So in case you do not have assets set up, as Conor was mentioning earlier, Google might auto-generate assets such as headlines, descriptions, text, image, and videos, and all based on your feed data or on your website. These videos or these texts, for example, will run in all the other networks than shopping to get you some traffic and to get you up and running. And finally, last point, we've made the experience indeed that it was very good to use audiences and customer match lists from previous campaign and to upload them in your Pmax campaign. As Sarah was also mentioning earlier, we made the experience that those things were actually helping the algorithm to kickstart, to jumpstart, let's say, and get a bit quicker onto the audience that are very interesting for. So I'm conscious that it is a lot of points. It is a lot of insights, a lot of questions. I see quite a lot of questions already on the Q&A. So first of all, don't worry, for those who were a bit late, this video has been recorded, this webinar has been recorded, and it will be available on YouTube in a few days. But even more interesting than this, Kelkoo has put for you a consulting offer to help you make the transition between whatever campaign you have now to Pmax. So this offer is split into 5 parts, and you can book all the parts in one go, or you can book each and every part of this offer based on your particular needs. So just to go quickly through it, in the first step, we will of course look at your feed and make sure your feed is having all the attributes and all the right attributes to be easily recognizable by all the algorithms. Step 2, we will sit down with you and talk about your objectives. What are your challenges? What are your targets at the moment? Where do you want to go with your Pmax campaign, etc., etc. And based on that, we go into the step 3, where we would either confirm that you have the right structure, or we could go into a discussion on how to better structure your campaigns so you stick to your targets, you stick to your objectives, and you bring an answer to your challenges. And once we've done that, obviously we will be there next to you to transform your system potentially, put in place the new campaigns, and make sure that, again, you get in line with your objectives and you get out of Pmax what do you want to get out of Pmax. And finally, obviously, we will be there to help you on the monitoring and on the fine-tuning, because as you can imagine, this is not a static process. This is not something that we can do once and then you can run forever with it. This is a cycle. So once we've been trying something, then we will look with you at the results, make sure that we are going into the right direction, and then based on that, changing direction or not. Right, as you can see, there is no price on this offer right now, because if you are a shopping ads customer at Kelkoo, this will be included in your package. So there is absolutely no worries, you can get this right away. If you are a shopping ads light customer at Kelkoo, this will be available to you at the hourly price that is present in your contract. So same thing, you just need to contact your sales account manager and we will organize that right away. For every other customers that are not customers at Kelkoo or not using Kelkoo as a CSS, this offer is still available to you with no obligation to switch to Kelkoo as a CSS, absolutely not. And then your local sales manager will contact you with the price per hour. So they will contact you after this webinar to make sure that you have all the relevant information. So I'm conscious it's been a lot of talk again. So let's get into the interesting part, which is the Q&A session. And before we do this, actually, we've put 2 questions to maybe launch this question. I see there are a lot of questions in the Q&A section, so maybe we don't need that, but just to make sure, we're going to launch a few questions for inspiration. So, may I run Performance Max and Smart Shopping campaign in a Google Ads account at the same time? Well, clearly, based on what we said earlier, no, you should not, because the Performance Max campaign is going to take over. So in that case, you cannot do that. Second question, how long will it take for my Performance Max campaign to finally ramp up? Well, the thing is that the Performance Max campaign will work from day 1. Will you get the results that you want from day 1? Maybe, maybe not, because it depends again on the amount of data and the amount of data available for the algorithm to really make the right decisions. We've made the experience that, again, it takes 1 to 2 weeks to get the results that we were targeting, based again on the amount of data. So low data merchants, it will take towards 2, maybe even 3 weeks. High data merchant, you might obviously see the results a lot faster. So this is pretty much what we would answer to that. So now let's go into the questions we have on the chat. So I'm going to start from the top. And make sure, please, that you've put all the questions in the Q&A section and not in the chat section, because if not, I'm afraid we're going to miss the question. So first question was, how long does a Pmax campaign take to learn? Well, I guess we've answered this question by now, but if it's not the case, and if you have a follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to put a follow-up question in the Q&A button. Right, what can we turn off the auto-generated video? So do you want to take this one, Conor, maybe?
Sure, happy to. So the auto-generated video is part of the Pmax campaign type, where we're extending to new ad inventory across YouTube display and other services like Discover Feed, which I mentioned at the start. You can't turn it off, but what we'd recommend to do is upload your own custom video, so that way you don't have the auto-generated video. In a way, this is trying to, I suppose, ensure that we are appearing full funnel and getting the best value from the product. In exceptional circumstances for brand safety purposes, there may be an option to completely opt out, but there is no way then to opt back into video. But we would recommend, of course, uploading your own video assets first, and then otherwise having the auto-generated video.
All right, thank you, Conor. Next question is going to be for you as well. Why does Google force advertisers to switch smart shopping campaigns, I guess, to Performance Max instead of just adding this new campaign type on top of the existing ones?
So I guess this question from Matthew is around auto migration towards smart shopping, from smart shopping to Pmax. So the progression of the product since the end of 2017 has seen all of those new customer acquisition goals built into the product, store visits, all of that direction shifting towards Performance Max. And the goal was to actually improve smart shopping, and Performance Max is just that outcome. In terms of switching one off and the other on, this is just the direction of the product, the automation product. So we do have clear timelines, which I've outlined also for local campaigns shifting into Performance Max. But I can understand there might be some need here to test pre and post. And going back to the first question, 2 weeks to ramp up from just a learning period. If you're just in a cold start, or you can just migrate over and the Performance Max campaigns to assure you will start from day one.
Thank you, Conor. And again, we are here to help in this transition period. So if you have doubts, if you want to try, if you want to test, then do not hesitate to come to us, contact us, and we can organize that for you. Next question, would you exclude your homepage URL from the campaign? Well, very interesting question. And unfortunately, I won't be able to answer this question now because it depends very honestly on the structure of your website and on the strategy behind the structure of your website. Do you want people to land on your own page because then it's very easy maybe to go to your product page? Or do you want people to make their choice on your page more than somewhere else? So it really depends on those kind of strategy, what you want really to achieve with your website. So I guess what I'm saying is that there is no blanket answer for that. Really depends on what you want to do with it. Conor, you want to add something?
Yeah, you nailed it there, Vincent. So it really depends on the goal. So, if a user is browsing for general products, say, they can see all of your product inventory with the categories you have on the homepage. But if you do want to have something RML kind of targeted, you can, of course, switch on final URL destinations. So you're actually targeting specific product groups in listing groups. And that perhaps can be another session that Kelkoo run. But certainly that's something we recommend by default, expansion of URLs on by default. But if you do, you can switch to final URL only targeted. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question, is it better to create an asset group per product type? And I guess the next question is also attached to it, or have one asset group as a catch-all? Sarah, you want to take this one?
Sure. This really depends on the types of products you have, and again, on the objectives that you want to reach. So if you are interested, therefore, in selling that specific product type and that specific product group, then that's a good way to structure your campaign. But if within this product type, you have different types of products that you would like to have different types of strategies with, then perhaps it would be more recommended to structure your campaign in a different way. And the same thing as like a catch-all, if you're interested in selling all these products in the same way and all these products are also quite similar to each other, then that's okay to create like a catch-all. But it really depends on the priorities of the inventory, on the strategies of the company, on the objectives. So it's depending on that then you create your different campaigns and your asset groups.
Thank you, Sarah. So next question. Also, you said multiple asset groups with different destination URL. Do you mean all different product groups or multiple, same product groups with different URL?
Yeah, I think this one's for me from my presentation. So essentially, good question, anonymous attendee. So this is around how you segment your products or select specific products. So as Sarah has said, based on themes, you might want to do this, or perhaps you want to have products of the same category with different goals from your feed. So for example, Kelkoo spoke about attributes. You might have margin or stock level data you want to bring in and actually assign a different ROAS for those targets that you're, those products that you're targeting, sorry. So one asset group, of course, but we also mean different product groups. So it might be by brand, it could be by kind of condition or channel or whatever it is, custom label you've set up. Or you can have themed groups around multiple similar products around a theme. So it's really up to yourself how you wish to structure with your business goals.
Thank you, Conor. So next one from Francesco. If I wanted to set a specific budget on specific product categories with a smart shopping, I was just able to create different campaigns, excluding different products to ground no overlap. Is it the same with Pmax, or there is the overlap risk of the search and display part?
I could take that. I mean, we actually did think to cover this. I know, Vincent, you spoke about the trumping hierarchy and how Performance Max takes precedence or priority over standard or smart. But when it comes to, I think this question's around search and display. So going back to the search budget part, so search, with keyword campaigns with keywords that exactly match user query, the campaign that's entered into the auction is the search campaign, as Vincent referred to. Search keyword campaigns with keywords that do not exactly match user queries, the campaign with the higher ad rank will go into the auction. And when it comes to display, obviously there's display campaigns with feeds and then there's Performance Max. Dynamic remarketing, it will always be Performance Max that takes precedence in the auction. All other display ads will be the campaign with higher ad rank. Hopefully
Thank you, Conor. I hope it answers the question. And again, do not, for everybody, do not hesitate. Follow-up questions, put it in the Q&A. That's what we're here for. So how you analyze the search traffic over the Pmax?
Good question. There's no search terms report, as was alluded to, I think, by Sarah. And so essentially, how you analyze the search traffic? Well, we have auction insights reporting where you can actually see the google.com benchmark results, which is really good to see who's entering the auctions and who are not with a Pmax campaign. In terms of analyzing per channel, there isn't a really great way to do this currently built into the product. And what I do know is there's top query or top searches that are on the insights page where you can actually see what users are querying. But at the moment, there's no way to kind of segment by search, shopping, or channel in Pmax.
Thank you. So next question from Anders. I have heard that many e-merchants experience lower average basket size during the first 20 days of running Pmax campaign. Did you experience that as well? So I can take this one. For our merchants that have been testing Pmax over the past months, we haven't experienced that. We haven't seen any change in the average basket. I would probably say, is that maybe something to do with the new merchant setting as well? The new customer setting as well, which could be an explanation for that. This is actually a very interesting case, and this is really a case we would love to, let's say, dive a bit more deeply into that. But personally, we haven't seen any big change in this area. So yeah, very happy to go deeper with you, Anders, on that. Come back to us, and we can analyze that and see how we can prevent that from happening from your own campaign. Is that a setting issue? Is that something else? This is this type of things that we can see together. Conor, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just to build on everything you said. So do reach out to Kelkoo for that. But this question from Anders is around, I think, perhaps a cold start or just self-initiating campaigns for Performance Max, which takes 2 weeks on average. And then we recommend a window of, say, a month, so 4 to 6 weeks, excluding the learning period, and then also factoring conversion lag. So the path to conversion, you can see in attribution paths. And so if you're seeing a longer time to conversion, but then also it may be just the fact that the algorithm is still learning to increase the average basket size order value, that's something that you can optimize for, as you said, Vince. So please reach out for more optimization advice.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next question. As an alcohol brand, we have been limited to serve within placement, using smart shopping campaigns. I understand that some Google restrictions would apply for Performance Max campaign, right? We wanted to test Pmax once, but just wondering if everything would be served again in search. I guess this is a policy issue in that case. You wanna take this one, Conor, maybe?
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah. So that obviously this is outside of Performance Max and more Google Ads related shopping policy for alcohol. So this is a sensitive category due to users who are not signed in, over 18 years old, and can show on certain networks, of course, for Google. I understand the restriction here. That's frustrating, and I appreciate that you see Google. You realize why Google restricts that, applying it to Performance Max campaigns, seeing as we're automating everywhere, right, across our ad networks. If you wanted to test, yes, of course you can do this, but you would see a limited reach, with Performance Max. So you're just going to see, I think, on kind of shopping placements available for you, as well as any other kind of PLA clicks, but no remarketing, no display, all the kind of usual policy applies here. I'm sorry for that, for the alcohol brands.
Thank you, Conor. Would you be able to share some tips for video assets? Are you able to share any links to ads that you think are doing a good job? So clearly, yes, we could. So we cannot really, let me make a bit more precise answer. So we won't be able to direct a video for you. However, we will be able to give you example of campaigns that have been working quite well from our retailer, show you those kind of campaigns so you can get the inspiration from that. So Stuart, I would say, contact us and then we can organize that together, definitely. But I'm not a video director, I'm not a film director. So this is where our expertise will stop.
We have 3 points, Vince, on this, just for video. I mean, again, an entire session could be run on creatives, again, for video, image, and text, but structuring video ads. So intro needs to be catchy with your product and proposition. The selling point needs to highlight the product benefit or offer, and the call to action needs to highlight the benefit or offer, and then follow up the relevant CTA. We also recommend that you have, your video ads appear across YouTube in-stream, YouTube Discovery for Watch Next and Google Home, or YouTube Home rather, and then on display. So you need to be thinking about grabbing attention early, diversifying your content, and being immersive with your brand persistently. Again, we maybe could follow up with what a strong intro looks like with examples and selling points, as well as call to actions and thumbnails.
Thank you. So next question, negative keywords exclusion isn't available in Greece via shared library. Those who don't have an account manager in Google, who don't have an account manager in Google, how can they add negative keywords in Pmax? Well, the answer to this one is pretty simple. Come to us. Come to us because we can do it through our account management at Google. So it's just a matter of, let's work together and we'll be able to get that working for you.
Yeah.
Right. I made a few Pmax campaign, and on the performance section, it says the results are still pending. The campaign has been running for 2 weeks. Do you want to take this one, Conor? Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So this is something we often see around even asset performance labels. So for 2 weeks, as I mentioned earlier, if it's a cold start, you've set up a new Performance Max campaign as opposed to migrating over existing ones. You have to have new settings, new setup, new assets that go through a reviewal process, and then they start to have to place them, and the algorithm learns what best assets combinations perform. So those first 2 weeks are the learning period, and that's very common and not unheard of. So I'd expect you to start seeing results and kind of evaluations of labeling in the coming weeks. So that's something constantly happening with the product.
Thank you. We have another questions on negative keywords. Is it confirmed that negative keywords can be entered in the Performance Max? So let me be very precise with this answer. So you, Manuel, cannot enter the negative keywords yourself in the tool. However, if you work with us, you can give us the keywords, and then we will make sure with Google that those negative keywords are included in your campaign. And therefore, you won't appear for those keywords. So no, you cannot do it yourself in the tool, but yes, you can do it via us.
Yeah.
Right. Then can Pmax, cannibalize our existing discovery ads?
I can take this, yeah, or you
go ahead.
No, so I think you answered this as well in your presentation, but essentially Pmax, the only overlap that you'll see, or kind of where it will take precedence, is where, examples are standard shopping, smart shopping, and in some display elements. With Discover, in this instance, the question around Discover campaigns, campaign with the higher ad rank will always enter the auction, be that Discover campaign or a Performance Max campaign. But I think we should follow up, Vince, with all the different interactions, because that seems to be something everyone.
Absolutely. Let us prepare some documents for you, some very visual documents that then we can communicate to you afterwards. So I'm just going to write this down so I don't forget about it. So visual documents to be prepared. Fantastic. Good. So next question. How can I manage a Pmax campaign who don't respect the TROAS I've added? For example, I set TROAS of 300 and campaign with a real ROAS of 150% for the last 30 days. But the budget has been spent. So you feel, Brice, that this is a bad rentability, a bad return on investment. So I guess this is a lot now. I mean, the answer to that is that obviously I cannot tell you why the algorithm doesn't manage to get the ROAS that you want. However, what I can tell you is that setting a ROAS target is one thing. Forcing the algorithm to work towards a target is one thing. But before that, the campaign structure, the health of your feed, the setup, this is all like extremely important to help actually reach this target. And this is exactly what people like Sarah, for example, are here to do, is really to make sure that before you set the TROAS that you want and that you want to target, as I was saying in the consulting package as well, we need to make sure that we understand your target, we understand your challenges, and therefore we help you put the right structure and the right setup in place to make sure that we can reach actually this kind of ROAS target. Because again, Google is trying to understand what you're selling, trying to understand the product that you are selling, to put them in front of the right users. And there are a lot of things that magicians like Sarah can do to really help you and help Google to understand your product and to get them an even better match than before. So I guess the answer to that is, again, come with us and we can look at your system, we can look at your setup, we can listen to you about what you want to achieve, what you want to do, what are your challenges, what are your limits. And it's based on that, we can make sure that you have the optimal setup to reach the target that you want and help the algorithm to faster and better understand your products. So next question, negative keywords exclusion list won't be available directly in the future. It is a premium feature that is offered only via partners. I guess it was meant, sorry, a premium feature. Yes, this is exactly correct. This is only via the partners and the premium partners, which Kelkoo is obviously. So yeah, do not hesitate, come to us. It won't be available in the future. It will still be a feature that is available only via the partners. So again, do not hesitate to talk to us and we can organize that. So next question, how long after a change in TROAS can you make another one? This is a very interesting question. You want to take this one, Conor, so you have the Google feedback on this one?
Yeah, sure. And just on the negatives, like that's something that everyone's asked about, Vincent, as well, and something that we're hoping to come soon to the product. But of course, you can reach out to your CSSs to do that. And so how long after a change in TROAS can you make another one? So this is more about not tweaking the ROAS goals too much. And it relates also to the person who asked the question about 150% versus 300% ROAS at the campaign level setup, which is the only way you can change your bidding on ROAS per asset group or listing group. We would suggest that you don't make more than 2 to 3 or 4 changes in a day. Certainly something in the first week, you should leave it run so the algorithm can bid to try and achieve that ROAS. And certainly not making any changes in the learning period, because that will force the algorithm to reset. But again, Kelkoo and Sarah and the consultants team can help you to actually assign the correct ROAS goal according to your conversion value outcome as well. So reach out to Kelkoo on this one, I think.
It's a very good point. It might be a process, so we need to maybe scale step by step the campaign as well. But again, this is all strategy we can put in place together. Right. changes in TROAS can be more than 10%. Yes, no.
Right.
Well,
yeah, they can be. I mean, you can, we recommend not making crazy incremental changes in TROAS, 10 to 15% increments or 5 to 10% increments, as you said, step-by-step changing, Vincent, to work towards, your campaign goals for Pmax. But, looking at the historical ROAS for the account is obviously a good guidance for the last 30 days for, what you were achieving. And not being too aggressive, because that can throttle campaign performance. Equally, still, if you start too low, you can quickly deplete your Performance Max campaign budget. But again, I think Sarah and the team are great for consulting on that as well, right?
Next question, how long before, in days, weeks, will we be notified before the automatic upgrade to Pmax?
Yeah, I think that finally I'll conclude that, sorry, because that's on the product. So we are hoping that everyone sees this within their accounts. There are 5 different ways inline for recommendations and campaigns and kind of notifications within Google Ads to tell you that these campaigns will be upgraded. But essentially it will say that you won't just come in one day and your campaigns will be upgraded, right? There will be ample notifications to Google Ads accounts. In the accounts, your CSS can also inform you. And this also varies across product, whether it's smart shopping campaigns migrating to Pmax or local campaigns. As I've said, smart shopping campaigns are prioritized first and local campaigns later in the year from August through to September, just in time for peak.
Thank you very much, Conor, for this precision. Well, that was the last question. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds. If you have a last second question that comes to your mind, do not hesitate. But while you're thinking, a warm thank you from myself and from Kelkoo to Conor for being there this morning with us. A very warm thank you for Sarah to have been this morning with us as well, and all the very great insights that she brought. And then thank you to you all for staying until the end. I know it's been a long session. It's been more than an hour session. So thank you very much for your time this morning. Enjoy the great sun wherever you are in Europe, and then talk to you soon. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.